Ma'am, you need to leave this property.
Excuse me, I live here.
The homeowner reported someone's trespassing.
I am the homeowner. This is my house.
The caller said the owner is an elderly white woman. You don't exactly fit that description, do you?
The caller is wrong. I'm Dr. Simone Hartley. I've lived here 12 years.
Doctor, huh? Sure you are.
Officer Derek Ramsay had worked with the Memphis Police Department for 4 years, and during those 4 years, he built a history that should have caused instant worry. 6 complaints, all 6 tied to claims that black residents didn't fit in mainly white neighborhoods. A man walking his dog in East Memphis, stopped and questioned about his own address. A teen skating in Germantown, held for trespassing on open sidewalks. A woman watering her yard in Chickasaw Gardens, told to prove she lived there. Every one of those cases ended the same way. Conflict resolution classes that Ramsay took but never absorbed. One Sunday in Memphis, his habit of assuming black people didn't belong in wealthy areas finally met someone who spent 30 years earning her place in that very community. And that encounter would destroy Ramsay's career, cost the city $2,900,000, and reveal a department that dismissed 6 matching complaints over 4 years. A black woman in her late 50s, Dr. Simone Hartley, was standing in the driveway of her modest one-story home, checking her mailbox on a calm Sunday morning. Her car keys in hand after returning from early hospital rounds. No crime, no trespassing, no rule broken, just a doctor grabbing her mail at her own home. But Officer Ramsay viewed her through a lens warped by fixed ideas about who belongs in wealthy areas. So he couldn't accept a black woman as a legitimate homeowner. Couldn't picture that success and property weren't defined by the racial borders Ramsay kept in his mind, and couldn't handle that the woman he was about to confront had far more right to stand on that property than Ramsay had to question her. Before we go on, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, please hit the subscribe button. Stories like this need to be heard, and your support helps us bring more truth forward. Memphis, Tennessee. Central Gardens, a historic neighborhood known for elegant homes dating back to the 1920s. Tree-lined streets with branches so thick they form tunnels of shade, and property values that reflect both the beauty of the homes and the status of the location. The area is mostly white, wealthy, and protective of its exclusivity in both spoken and quiet ways. It was 8:45 on a Sunday morning in September. The air was still cool before the Tennessee heat would move in later. Church bells echoed in the distance. A few neighbors were out walking dogs or picking up newspapers. The kind of calm Sunday morning where nothing dramatic usually unfolds. Dr. Simone Hartley had worked as a cardiologist at Baptist Memorial Hospital for 28 years. 28 years of saving patients, performing procedures, training residents, building a reputation as one of the top interventional cardiologists in the Mid-South. She finished medical school at Vanderbilt, residency at Johns Hopkins, fellowship in interventional cardiology at Cleveland Clinic. She had published studies. She had served on hospital committees. She had guided a generation of young physicians. Her patients trusted her. Her colleagues admired her. Hospital leaders valued her. Simone had been raised in Memphis, the daughter of immigrants who'd opened a small restaurant downtown. She watched her parents work 16-hour days, saving enough to send her to college. She became the first in her family to enter medical school. She worked through each stage of training with a blend of intelligence and non-stop discipline. By 40, she was a recognized cardiologist. By 50, she was among the best in her specialty in Memphis. 12 years earlier, she'd bought the house in Central Gardens, a well-kept single-story home with a brick base, a covered front porch, and a small but neatly cared-for yard. She paid in full, the reward for decades of 100-hour weeks and careful money management. She turned it into her quiet escape, the place she returned to after days that began at 5 a.m. and ended near midnight. Her neighbors had been polite when she arrived, some warm, some distant. A few made remarks over the years with undertones she instantly recognized. Surprise that she was a doctor, questions about whether she lived alone, assumptions about how she could afford the home. Simone learned to handle these microaggressions calmly, choosing her battles and focusing on her career instead of neighborhood attitudes. That Sunday morning, Simone had gone to the hospital at 6:30 for early rounds, checking on 2 post-op patients before driving home. She pulled into her driveway at 8:40, planning to change clothes and work on her garden before the heat became unbearable. She got out of her car and walked to the mailbox at the edge of the driveway to grab Saturday's mail that she hadn't picked up. She was standing on her own driveway, on her own property, doing something she did several times a week. She had every legal right to stand there. She owned the home, she owned the land, she paid the property taxes. But Officer Derek Ramsay, answering the call about a suspicious person, interpreted things differently. Ramsay had worked with Memphis PD for 4 years, assigned to patrol wealthy neighborhoods for the last 2. His supervisors called him thorough about property protection, which was another way of saying he was quick to question people who didn't match his mental picture of who belonged in upscale areas. In 4 years, he produced 6 official complaints. Each one involved a black person in a mostly white neighborhood. A contractor's truck parked in front of a house in East Memphis. Ramsay confronted the workers, demanded their permits, called the homeowner to confirm they had hired black contractors. The workers were licensed and fully legitimate.
Complaint filed. Dismissed after diversity awareness training. A college student visiting his grandmother in Germantown. Ramsay stopped him while walking from his car to the house, demanded ID, questioned whether he actually had family in the neighborhood. The young man's grandmother came out and confirmed he was indeed her grandson. Complaint filed, closed with a community engagement workshop required. A real estate agent showing a property to clients in Chickasaw Gardens. Ramsay approached, questioned if they had permission to be there, asked for ID from the black agent, but ignored the white clients. The agent had proper listing authorization. Complaint filed, resolved with implicit bias training. The pattern was obvious. Black people in white neighborhoods, Ramsay assumed they didn't belong. Ramsay questioned, demanded proof, created confrontations, complaints filed, training assigned. No real consequences, no true accountability. Memphis PD had a file on Ramsay recording these 6 complaints over 4 years. That's an average of 1.5 complaints per year, all following the same pattern. Yet the department treated each case separately, never noticing the clear trend. So Ramsay kept patrolling, kept questioning, kept assuming. That morning, Ramsay got a call from dispatch. Suspicious person reported in Central Gardens. Caller said an unknown black woman was at a driveway on Carr Avenue. Caller suspected a break-in or trespassing. Caller claimed the homeowner was an elderly white woman. Ramsay arrived within minutes. This was his specialty, protecting property, keeping neighborhoods secure, investigating suspicious activity. He drove onto Carr Avenue and immediately saw what the caller reported. A black woman standing by a mailbox in the driveway of a tidy suburban home. In Ramsay's mind, this didn't add up. Central Gardens, well-kept home, black woman. Something's wrong. He didn't consider she might own the house. He ignored the many black professionals who had moved into historically white Memphis neighborhoods over past decades. He didn't question the caller's assumption that the homeowner must be white. He simply acted on his usual pattern. See black person in white neighborhood, assume they don't belong, intervene. Ramsay pulled his patrol car to the curb and stepped out. Do you think officers should verify ownership before approaching people in their own driveways? Share your thoughts below. Simone had just taken several pieces of mail from her mailbox when she heard a car door slam. She turned and saw a police cruiser. Her heart sank instantly. She had heard stories from other black homeowners in mostly white neighborhoods, stories of being questioned, forced to prove they lived in their own homes. She never thought it would happen to her. The officer walked up, his hand near his radio. Ma'am, you need to leave this property. Simone blinked, stunned by the absurdity. Excuse me, I live here. The homeowner reported someone trespassing. Simone felt anger rise, but kept her voice calm. I am the homeowner. This is my house. Ramsay's face didn't change. The caller said, the owner is an elderly white woman. You don't exactly fit that description, do you? The caller is wrong. I'm Dr. Simone Hartley. I've lived here 12 years. She gestured at the house. This is my home. I own it. My name is on the deed. Doctor, huh? Sure you are. This is where assumptions turn into accusations. Officer Derek Ramsay had come because a neighbor made a judgment based on race. That neighbor had never met Simone, never spoken to her, yet decided that a black woman in this driveway could not belong. And Ramsay, instead of questioning it, reinforced the assumption. Officer, I am not leaving my own property. If you need proof, check the property records. My name is on the deed. I've owned this home since 2011. I'm a cardiologist at Baptist Memorial. I've lived in Memphis all my life. Step back while I confirm your claim. Simone's professional calm cracked. My claim? This is my house. I'm standing in my own driveway. Look at this mail. She held up the stack she had just collected. It's all addressed to Dr. Simone Hartley at this address, because I live here. Ma'am, I need you to... Who called? Was it Mrs. Henderson next door, the woman who's lived here 3 years and never once introduced herself? Or someone else who can't believe a black woman owns a house in Central Gardens?
Ramsay's expression stiffened. I can't reveal the caller. Of course you can't, because then I'd know exactly which neighbor assumed I was a criminal just for checking my mail.
A car slowed as it drove by. The driver, an older white man, rolled down his window. "Everything okay, officer?" Ramsay turned. "Just looking into a call, sir. That's Dr. Hartley. She lives there, has for years. She's a cardiologist." The man looked at Simone. "Simone, is there a problem?" Simone's voice showed both relief and frustration. "Officer Ramsay got a call that I'm trespassing in my own driveway." The man's expression changed to disbelief. "That's absurd. Officer, she owns that house. Check the records if you need proof, but don't make her prove she belongs in her own home." He drove away, shaking his head. Ramsay watched him leave, then faced Simone again, his certainty shaken but his pride intact. "I still need to verify," he said. "Then verify. Call your supervisor. Check the property records. Do whatever is needed, but I am not leaving my driveway, and I will not be treated like a criminal for collecting my mail." Ramsay reached for his radio. "Dispatch, I need a supervisor at 2847 Carr Avenue and run a property record check on this address." Within 7 minutes, a supervisor's car arrived. Sergeant Donald Williams stepped out, a 32-year veteran who'd worked in Memphis long enough to have seen this exact scenario too often. He had read Ramsay's complaint file. He had recommended discipline after complaint 4. He had been overruled by command staff, unwilling to face union pushback. He walked over and immediately sized up the scene. A tidy home, a woman standing calmly with mail in hand, a patrol car blocking the driveway, no signs of crime, no signs of anything except a bad call and worse judgment. "Ramsay, what's happening?" "Anonymous call about trespassing. Subject claims to be the homeowner, but the caller said..." "I don't care what the caller said." Williams turned to Simone. "Ma'am, I'm Sergeant Williams. I apologize for this situation. Are you the homeowner?" Simone's voice was firm, but carried the weight of her fatigue over the encounter. "Yes, my name is Dr. Simone Hartley. I've owned this house for 12 years. I'm a cardiologist at Baptist Memorial. I was checking my mail when Officer Ramsay pulled up and told me to leave my own property." Williams pulled out his phone and quickly accessed the Shelby County Property Records database.
Property 2847 Carr Avenue. Simone Hartley. Purchase date 2011. No liens. Taxes paid. Everything legitimate. He turned to Ramsay, frustration barely contained. "She's the owner. The property records confirm it. Why didn't you check before confronting her?" The caller said, "The caller was wrong, and you should have verified before accusing someone of trespassing on their own property." Williams turned back to Simone. "Dr. Hartley, I sincerely apologize. This should not have happened. Officer Ramsay acted without proper verification. If you want to file a complaint, I will give all the necessary information." Simone looked at Ramsay, then at Williams. "Sergeant, this is the 6th time in 12 years I've been questioned in this neighborhood. Security companies asking if I'm the housekeeper, neighbors asking if I'm visiting someone, a police officer telling me to leave my own driveway. I'm a physician. I save lives for a living, and I can't check my mail without being treated like I don't belong here." Another neighbor appeared across the street, a white woman in her 70s. "Is Simone okay? Why are the police here?" Williams addressed her. "Ma'am, did you call about a suspicious person?" "No, Simone has lived here for years. She's wonderful. Who called?" The question lingered in the air. Someone in this neighborhood saw Simone in her driveway and called the police. Someone assumed she was a criminal based only on her presence, and that person would remain unknown while Simone faced the consequences. Should neighbors face penalties for false police reports based on racial assumptions? Let me know what you think. Williams spoke into his radio. "Dispatch, cancel that property check. Homeowner verified, no further action needed." He turned to Ramsay. "Badge and radio, you're on administrative leave pending investigation." Ramsay went pale. "Sergeant, I was responding to a call." "You responded to a call and made no effort to verify the information before confronting a homeowner. This is your 6th complaint in 4 years, all following the same pattern. You're done patrolling until this is investigated. Badge and radio." Ramsay handed them over, hands shaking. Williams addressed Simone again. "Dr. Hartley, the department will carry out a full investigation. You will have access to all reports and recordings, and I personally apologize that this happened." Simone nodded slowly. "Sergeant, I appreciate your response, but you need to understand this isn't just about Officer Ramsay. This is about a system that allows officers to accumulate 6 complaints with no consequences. This is about neighbors who call the police on black people for simply existing in spaces they legally own.
This is about being a homeowner for 12 years and still needing to prove I belong. By that evening, Simone had contacted an attorney. By Monday morning, local news covered the story. Cardiologist confronted by police in her own driveway. Memphis officer questions black homeowner's legitimacy. Doctor told to leave her own property after neighbors called. The medical community responded immediately. Baptist Memorial issued a statement supporting Dr. Hartley. The Memphis Medical Society condemned the incident. Her patients began sharing their experiences with her. Stories of a physician who saved their lives, who worked holidays and weekends, who had earned every bit of respect she commanded. Civil rights groups offered support. The NAACP called for immediate action. The ACLU documented the incident as part of a pattern of racial profiling in affluent Memphis neighborhoods. Simone filed a lawsuit 3 weeks later, naming Officer Derek Ramsay, his supervisors who ignored 6 complaints, and Memphis PD. The claims included racial profiling and discrimination, unlawful detention, harassment, violation of property rights, Fourth Amendment violations, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and deliberate indifference to Ramsay's pattern of discriminatory stops. The complaint included Ramsay's full record, 6 complaints over 4 years, all involving black residents in white neighborhoods. All were dismissed with training that never changed his behavior. Memphis city lawyers reviewed the case. Property records proved ownership. Witness statements confirmed the story. Ramsay had no legal reason to order Simone off her property. The pattern of complaints showed deliberate indifference by the department. The city settled 18 months later. $2,900,000 paid to Dr. Simone Hartley, one of the largest settlements in Memphis history for an unlawful stop on private property. Officer Derek Ramsay was fired 10 weeks after the incident. The termination letter was clear. Officer Ramsay engaged in racial profiling of a homeowner on private property. He demanded Dr. Hartley leave her own driveway based on an unverified, anonymous call. He failed to check basic facts before confronting a property owner. His pattern of similar behavior, documented through 6 complaints in 4 years, shows he could not serve without racial bias. Employment ended immediately. Ramsay's name was added to the National Decertification Index. His 4-year law enforcement career ended. The union tried to challenge the termination. The city provided Ramsay's complaint file, witness statements, and property records. The union dropped the appeal after reviewing the evidence. Ramsay issued a short statement. I made serious errors and let assumptions guide my actions. I apologize to Dr. Hartley. Simone testified before Memphis City Council. I'm a physician. I've devoted my life to healing people. I've worked 80-hour weeks for 28 years. I bought my house with money I earned through decades of service to this community. And Officer Ramsay told me to leave my own driveway because someone said the homeowner should be white. 6 complaints in 4 years, all involved black residents in white neighborhoods. That's not bad luck.
That's a pattern. A pattern your department ignored until it targeted someone with the means to fight back. She paused. $2,900,000 is what it takes to finally address one officer's 4-year pattern. But money doesn't erase being treated like a criminal in your own driveway. It doesn't remove the humiliation of having neighbors watch you prove you own your house. And it doesn't stop the next officer with 6 complaints from doing the same thing. Memphis PD implemented reforms 10 months later. Mandatory property record verification before trespassing claims on private property, automatic review after 3 similar complaints, body camera checks for all residential confrontations, community liaison programs connecting officers with diverse neighborhood residents, command accountability for officers with documented patterns. Why do departments treat each complaint as isolated instead of seeing the bigger picture? Comment your thoughts. This wasn't just one Sunday morning. This was a department that allowed Derek Ramsay to accumulate 6 complaints, all showing the same bias without connecting them into a pattern. The complaints were documented. The pattern was clear, yet Memphis PD treated each case separately, never recognizing that 6 identical complaints in 4 years meant systemic failure, not random mistakes. Dr. Simone Hartley paid the price, confronted in her own driveway, forced to prove she owned her home, treated like a trespasser on property she purchased with decades of hard-earned money. Derek Ramsay's career is over. That's consequence. The city paid $2,900,000. That's accountability.
But these measures came after 6 complaints and 4 years of the same behavior. 4 years of victims who didn't have medical degrees or deeds to show. 4 years of people questioned for walking, existing, living in neighborhoods Ramsay assumed they didn't belong in. The real question is, what changes now? Do departments connect the dots at complaint 3 instead of waiting for complaint 6? Do they see patterns when officers repeatedly target the same demographic in the same situations? Do they prioritize protecting citizens over protecting officers with clear biases? Because if we don't fix the system that let Derek Ramsay patrol for 4 years through 6 identical complaints, if we don't address the culture that treats pattern recognition as optional, then we're just waiting for the next officer with 6 complaints, the next victim, the next doctor told to leave her own driveway. Comment if this should be mandatory. 3 similar complaints within 3 years triggers automatic investigation and possible termination. No more isolated handling. Pattern recognition becomes policy. And if you believe these stories matter, if you think 6 complaints in 4 years should have triggered action after complaint 3, then hit that subscribe button. We're exposing departments that ignore obvious patterns. We're demanding better. We're fighting for homeowners who deserve to exist in their own driveways without proving they belong. This isn't about one officer or one doctor. It's about systems that allow patterns to continue and the people who pay the price for that willful blindness.